Hi, I'm Brandon Holsworth, and I work for Elliott Sewitt at the new Cigar Warehouse at 10910 North Central Expressway in Dallas, or Royal and 75. My brother Matthew Austin works at Elite Cigar over in Addison, Texas for Kent Pennington. Any way you look at it, we might work for competing stores, but we're still brothers of the leaf. We still have a great love of cigars, a great friendship, and a true love for this industry. So sit back, take just a few minutes. You might learn something, you might get a good laugh. Oh, and by the way, this is Stickman. All right, good evening. Coming to you from Elliott Sewitt Studios, Studio B. We're at the grand opening party of the new Cigar Warehouse here at 10910 North Central Expressway, or Royal and 75, right next to the Hardcore Sex Shop. Tonight I'm sitting here with Pete Johnson, goddamn American legend. Pete, thank you for sitting down with me.
Now, are we really near the Hardcore Sex Shop?
If you go in and you actually tell them you're with Cigar Warehouse, anything over 8 inches I think gets you 10% discount. So, back to what I was saying.
You got to prove it?
No, they have a ruler. So, fuck you guys. Damn it. All right, we're going to keep on. We're just going to roll this thing. We're just rolling.
Quiet on the set! Pete Johnson interview, take 4!
Anybody else here, Pete's concerned about that ruler measurement?
Yeah, let's say I'm a little concerned with the 8 inches thing.
All right, let me try this again. But I'm not starting over. Pete's one of the guys that actually got out on the road, earned it.
Stop it.
Escort this guy out, please. Pete's one of the guys that got out on the road and earned it. You got... Fuck. All right. Last time.
You suck. Really swap spots.
Stop it. Leave him alone, man. Come on, let's get this.
Ethan, you look like a guy that got fired from Target 4 years ago but never lost your wardrobe.
Oh, man, these are good, dude. That's good shit. I think my favorite, though, is that he found Steve Parker's shirt in the trash.
God, I wish I taped that.
Well, we taped it. Don't worry. We got that.
Young Newman behind me. So,
Young Newman. Oh, my God.
Young Newman has something to say. So, all right. Goddamn American hero, all that stuff that we were doing earlier. Earned it out on the road. Pete, you're a very enigmatic character. You know, when a lot of people see you, they always imagine you leaning up against like a 47 knucklehead, flathead, Harley Davidson, always with the one hand in your pocket, because that seems to be like your best side. You're like, look at me, I'm sensitive. We don't know a whole lot about you, but from what I do know is
Well, I can tell you, I don't ride motorcycles.
You don't?
No. I realized I was better in four walls.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
From what
After I dumped a Ducati, I decided that I was better in four walls.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I've got some friends that have some issues, but I got some friends that are some kick-ass motorcycle riders too.
No, I appreciate the riding thing. I couldn't roll with the best of them, so I don't want to be out there.
So from what I know about you, you're from California. You're not?
From Maine.
You're from Maine?
Gardner, Maine. Small town in city, historic city, but in
Let's
Gardner,
say
Maine.
stuff that's sexy about you.
There's
Let's
nothing
say that
sexy
you're
about
from
Gardner, Maine,
California.
trust me. I live in California.
I was told you were a liquor distributor.
Nope.
Not a liquor distributor.
No.
Okay, so
Are you talking to Marcus again?
well, he's a good source of bad information. It really seems like. So what I was told is you were a cigar nerd just like myself. You were in liquor distribution, and there was a natural transformation. What actually got you into this industry?
So I was never in liquor distribution. I was a cigar nerd. I was a musician who became a cigar nerd, and I was smoking cigars, but I needed a job after being a half of a musician in Los Angeles, and I got a job as a bouncer in a strip club. I'm not as big as you, but I was the guy that would call the big guys over. So I would be in the strip club, and I would call you over to get in a fight.
No, I like that.
Yeah. That was my part-time job, and I realized that I needed something better in life, and a guy in a cigar store asked me if I wanted a part-time job. And what was a Sunday job, blending pipe tobacco in the back of the store, became a full-time job and being their chief buyer for the store. That was in 1993.
Right, that was the year I was born.
What?
Yeah, take that, bitch. I'm just messing with you. I was born in 75.
God damn.
Okay, so
Snowflake.
what kind of? You were a bass player,
I was a bass player.
just like myself. What was the forte?
Rock and roll. Hairband.
Hairband.
Hairband. I was a really pretty, like, bass player.
I still have my leather pants.
Oh no, you got to throw those out, man.
They still have the original crabs in them too. So, if you had your choice, we're talking Rat, Out of the Cellar,
Yeah.
or Cinderella.
Oh, Cinderella.
Really? I'm a Stephen Piercy. I figured.
Well, Stephen Piercy, Rat was huge, but Cinderella I got to see play a lot. Mm-hmm. Back in when I lived in Maine, Cinderella used to come in with Bon Jovi and bands like that. So it was Cinderella was kick ass back then.
All right. So, David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar?
Oh, David Lee Roth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what are your feelings on Greta Van Fleet?
Greta Van Fleet.
New band. All the kids are like 20, 21, but they sound so spot on to Zeppelin in like 78. It's you need to check those dudes out. They're off.
I'll check them out, but I've seen and heard a lot of bands that have copied Zeppelin over the years, and there's only one Zeppelin.
Oh, I agree with that.
And we're taking a break because Brandon's lighting his cigar.
Mm-hmm. Goddamn professional. All right, so how did you hook up with my father, Don Pepin?
Pepin was just in from Cuba in Nicaragua, working for a company called Tropical Cigars, and a friend of mine who worked in Los Angeles named Ben Gehrman, he was the sales rep for Viazon back in the old days, called me and says, "Do you still want to make a cigar?" And I was like, "No, I kind of lost my feel for it, and I kind of feel like I'm going nowhere in this industry." And he goes, "Well, there's a guy I know that might be able to make you a cigar. We'll send you some samples." So they sent me some samples, and I didn't like them. And then they said, "Don't worry, we're going to come and visit you in Los Angeles, and we're going to make you some samples on the spot." And Pepin rolled me 3 more cigars that I wasn't really a fan of, but it became one of those conversations between a gringo who spoke no Spanish and a Cuban man who had all the knowledge that I wanted through translation. And within 5 minutes later, he rolled me a cigar that I fell in love with.
Tu sabe ahora? Do you speak now?
Oh, ahora sí, pero muy malo. Mi español, there's a lot of shit talking in my Spanish because I don't speak Cuban. I mean, I don't speak Spanish, I speak Cuban.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get on with what is now one of the greatest machines in the world. Your Pete Johnson, your loved... I'm filming a goddamn show! I'm sorry about that. You know what? That's what I do.
And
Here we go.
okay.
All right, so you have any kids?
I don't have any kids that were produced by me.
All right.
I do have surrogate kids. My partner in life, Yanni Garcia, has 3 boys that I care for very much. And I guess I would be their dad, in a sense.
No, that's right on, man. It's actually the folks that are there while the children are growing that are the ones that are the most important.
Her oldest, I met him when he was 1. So,
Well, right on, man.
Yeah.
It takes a big man to step in and fill shoes. So, a couple years ago, we got all these bad news about the FDA.
Yes.
And word on the street, you had companies that were selling, not that some of the companies were all that important, but some of them actually were. Now, a lot of the word on the street that was Pete was going to sell. And then all of a sudden, the Henry Clay comes out. And people are like, oh, he's just testing the waters to see how this is going to go. Now, shoot me straight, man. Look me in the eyes when you say it. Were you going to sell? Was that the thought that was going on at the time?
not too Altadas.
All right.
That was that came up in a weird conversation with Altadas that I mentioned you guys should make me a Henry Clay because I used to smoke Henry Clay back in the day when they were $1 cigar, and I've always loved the brand. And years later, they came to me and said, "Were you serious about that?" And I said, "Halfway, but yeah." And they said, "Let's do a project together." And that's really, it was as simple as that. There's nothing sexy about that story. It was really just working with a company that made a cigar that I used to smoke a lot when I was younger. That I still think the original Henry Clays are still a great cigar.
I have friends of mine that apparently Henry Clay had a Candela.
I don't remember that one.
I have a friend of mine that swears up and down about a Henry Clay Candela. I don't know if I've ever even seen it.
No, I don't remember that one.
So,
I remember a Henry Clay with Havana 2000 that wouldn't burn with a shit. But the old school Connecticut broadleaf Henry Clay just had something special to it. It was chewy, and you could smoke it all day, and it just had an appeal. It was like a real man cigar.
when I first started, Elliot would push cigars at me like, "You need to smoke this, you need to smoke this," and he was really educating my palate. One of the cigars that he was pushing at me was El Rey del Mundo, and for me, that's
by when Frankie Neza made it.
Yes, and still to this day, that's for me, that's
Yeah, they made that for Lou, and that was a special cigar.
I still love that
Yeah.
cigar. Just great. I still like the Flor de Llaneza too. I mean,
Yeah.
great flavors, good tones. Now, how often do you actually do these events? Because I know they're special. You're not like, there was a time, like I was saying earlier, with Sammy Nassif. It seems like, Arizona's right next to California. That's an easy drive over just to say hi to Paul Bouza and Sammy and all those dudes. But how often do you actually do these in-store appearances now?
I would say a few a month. But this month, June, is pretty busy.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing an event with Paul Bouza in 2 weeks.
That's my man crush.
On my way to Boise, Idaho, to do another event for a place called The Vault in Boise.
Right on.
But so the month of June, I have a total of 6 events that I'm doing.
All right, so it's not like back in the days when you and Rocky were like everywhere all the time.
Yeah, I blame Rocky for making me work harder. Because Rocky was really the one that started it. And Rocky's a machine, dude. I still have a lot of respect for him.
I do too, man.
He's traveling the world, and he's nonstop. Like, it's hard to keep up with him.
Yeah.
But he was like the cause of us all having to try harder. But I followed Rocky. Rocky started in the business in his own brands shortly before me. Well, not shortly. He was like, I think 96, I believe, if I remember correctly. He was a member of the Grand Havana Room, so I knew him from the Grand Havana Room. And we were friends, and we remember old stories about playing dominoes and poker at the tables in the club, and chess games that people were losing watches at. But Rocky got involved with a gentleman by the name of Philip Zangi, and he started working with Indian tobacco.
Phil Zangi does Debonair.
Yeah.
Great dude.
Great dude.
Solid dude.
Great dude.
Now, something that I loved about what you and guys like Rocky did was, on my side as a rep, once you have the figurehead in the house, you got a magnetic personality, you got very skinny jeans on, very attractive.
Thank you.
I worked for companies that I was, hey, these guys would like you to be there, and they'd go, why do we need to be there? We hired you to be our rep. You're the face of the company. And, like, when I think of Tatuaje, as much as I love Tom, and I love Tom.
Yeah.
How's he working out for you? Is that still good?
Yeah, still good.
Okay, good. Actually, the funny story behind it is he's kind of like the Mogatu to my Zoolander, because he's the only one I never worked for. So
It's a good reference, actually.
yeah, it is. For years, I actually stalked this guy, and he'd come up and look at me and go, "Is it Bran or is it Drunk Bran?" "Oh, it's Drunk Bran. We're getting the hell out of here." But but when you're a rep and you have, brand owners that aren't willing to show up and do what needs to be done, you can't really build that bond like you've done
everywhere.
It's not easy because when you're traveling, you want to hit as many places as possible, but it's impossible.
It's impossible.
I brought on a good friend of mine, Dan Welsh, and my brother Casey, and they've been helping covering the territories a lot and filling in for when I can't be at places. But there's still that dynamic of that people want to see the brand owner there.
Absolutely.
And I can't be everywhere. I have shows in Europe. I have events in Europe that I have to do. I have shows everywhere in the country, and it's impossible to stretch me 365 days a year.
If you knew how many Pete stories I hear, like Pete. Back in '68, I was surrounded by Viet Cong, and young Corporal Pete Johnson came in and pulled me out and saved my life. I mean, everybody has. I taught Pete how to spearfish.
Is that Marcus again?
No, that was actually a guy in the humidor. I taught Pete how to spearfish, and you always hear the names, and I just think, does Pete know how many people have taught him how to do things? I mean, you have a really cool job in which, like with my friend Simon that came in tonight.
Yeah.
You didn't know him. You actually went in. You treat people like humans. You still love your product. Now I see a lot of brand owners that come in.
I still love this industry, and I love the fact that people are actually willing to take the chance on the product that we make. I'm a cigar nerd, and to be able to educate other people about the love of cigars is just the bonus for me, because
that's wonderful.
There's a lot of things that people just don't know, and for me to have that platform to be able to teach a little bit, and I've learned from the best people in the industry. I mean, Elliot's a guy that I met many years ago, and he's been in this industry for a long time, so I listen when he talks.
Did you know that he sold stereo equipment in the 70s?
I think I did, actually.
Yeah, if he doesn't, he'll tell you that story. It's pretty awesome. Hi-fi stuff. Cool, man. All right, so what's going on with the Boris? You got some new Boris things coming out here?
Little Boris. Little Boris is a redux of the original Little Boris that we did for Jeff Borchowitz at Corona Cigars. But I don't do single store releases anymore. Mm-hmm. So Jeff and I came to an agreement that he would get a large quantity of the production, and I would be able to sell a decent amount to about 25 other retailers. So it's going to be very select.
Small batch selected.
Yeah.
No, I dig on that stuff, man. I think that's where you find out the true fans, or they're getting on the phones and they're pounding out there to find. You find out who, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How often do you do an event where someone's like, check this out, and you look at it and you're like, oh man, I remember when we made, that's the cigar we made, 10 years ago.
Now, someone pulled a cigar out of their pocket earlier tonight that was a cigar that is kind of personal to me. It's called the Havana Cazador, and I made a small batch of them where I put them in cellophane, and they never touched the foil. They never got wet packed. They never got put in cedar, and it became this thing. Even though they were made, I had a few bundles that were made for myself. He had one in his pocket. I was like, "You know what this is?" I go, "Yeah, of course I do." And I haven't seen one in 8 years, I think, maybe 7 years. So
That's cool. Do you still have them?
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't have any of them.
Now, do people give you a lot of gifts? They're like, hey man, I love this cigar that you made, and I've held on to this for 6 years since I bought it from you at this.
Yeah, and I try to refuse to take them.
So you're a better man than me. I take all free cigars.
No, it's usually when they're trying to give me one of my own cigars back and they only have two, I don't want to take one.
I would go, you know what, we need a picture. And then I would take the cigar and then take the picture with their phone so it doesn't cost me any minutes or anything. You know what I mean?
You know, a picture doesn't cost you anything, right?
I'm not really, if I can't fight it, fuck it, a foot race it, I usually don't want to be part of it. I mean, that's how I live my life. So what do we got coming out for you? The FDA is going to be shutting you down on new products? Are we going to just be mailing it in? What do we have coming out?
No, I have a lot of old stuff coming back.
I'm mailing. Hey,
Tom,
shut the goddamn door. I'm doing my show. Shut the goddamn door.
He's trying to take your job, man.
He wants to become Oprah. Give him a break, will you?
Jeez. You shop at Marshall's. Sit down.
What's the matter with Marshalls, dude? I shop at Marshalls. I shop at Ross.
You have a medium on.
No, it's a large, but right now I'm a large plus.
I understand. It's good beer. So, all right, so let's talk about new stuff.
New stuff is actually old stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm bringing back old brands that I did before the predicate date, just to you know, keep on doing what I'm doing.
I respect that.
And so a brand called Nuevitas, which is coming back. I used to make it in 2004, 2005, 2006.
Shut the goddamn door. I'm not asking a lot. Watch the door.
Jesus. Stand in front of it. Jesus.
All right, I'm sorry. Would you please say that again?
No, I'm making a brand called Nuevitas, which I made like around 2004 to 2006. And I realized that I had those brands just sitting there that I wanted to come back out with. I used to make it with a different factory, and in 2006 I made a commitment to the Garcias that I would make my brands with them only.
You couldn't go, you know what I mean?
I mean, like, so Henry Clay was a side project with
Yeah.
Altadas,
Oh,
but it was
no.
their brand. But my brands are only made by the Garcias. And
That's badass.
I decided that that was a good time to bring that cigar back. And then I used to make a cigar for the Grand Havana room in 2 sizes, in bundles of 10 back then. But with the FDA rule, we're allowed to change packaging, but we can't change quantity sizes
So it has to be 10
or the
forever.
blend. So it's a 10 count no matter what. And so I'm bringing those cigars back, and those are my 15th anniversary cigars.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And those are made in Miami. The Nuevita is made in Nicaragua, and the 15th anniversaries are made in Miami.
Well, even though Elliot's not good at showing his emotion, he's been very excited about you being here. I mean, if you look at him, he was a little schoolgirl the last 2 weeks. He's like, send out another email because my PD is coming to hang with us.
I don't believe that.
It's totally true. It's, you know, if you see through the denim, you understand the man. So, but Pete, I just truly want to say thank you
No,
for
you're
sitting
welcome.
down with me, man. It truly means a lot. And
You got no other questions?
I was trying to ask stuff that not, you know, like you get hit with all the cigar nerds that are like, how great is it to be Pete Johnson?
Yeah, but you're a cigar nerd, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm a cigar nerd.
Yeah.
We're all cigar nerds. That's why we're sitting in this room.
He's a fanboy.
You're an AJ whore.
No, I smoke everything.
Don't lie. Don't you lie.
Hey, do me a favor, Newman. No one hears your shit.
Yeah, the oddball stuff. I've lived a weird life. I wanted to become a fashion designer when I was a kid. I used to sew on a sewing machine. My grandmother taught me how to sew. Used to make my own clothes for stage. Started my own jean company for a brief period, and then gave that up. I still have a stack of denim laying around my office.
Well, there's a man right over here that'll pay top dollar. I do weird shit too. Sometimes I'll eat dinner with no shirt on. You know what I mean?
It's kind of strange, but
Yeah, you know. It's all what you're into at the time. See who it is real quick. We'll take a second.
Maybe like a toga for you.
See who it is. Who is it?
who is it? PJ? No, don't let him in. Don't let him
Keep
in.
Mr. Goodhair out of the room. God
Ray
damn.
Cyrus?
Dude, I don't know who spends more time on their hair, Todd or PJ. You know Todd
Ryan.
Vance? That's my brother.
Oh yeah.
No, Ryan's just, he wakes up that way.
But Ryan has that same haircut. PJ copy.
Jesus.
It's like an LL Bean catalog walked in.
He's the guy with the Cazador in his pocket. Hey Jeff, give me that cigar. I want that cigar. That cigar that's in your pocket, I want that.
Yeah, look at it.
We are going to have a white t-shirt contest.
Here's a Marshall.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You smoke it. Is that your last one?
Yeah, it's the
Oh no. So that's the cigar that.
Wow. See, now for
Look at
me,
the cello.
that's
I mean,
what I
you can't
say.
see it.
Like,
You can't see it on camera,
one
but
second. Taylor? Elliot? Do it.
he's not
Show
going
him
to tell
out. Show
Elliot.
him out.
Elliot's not going to tell him to do anything.
Now, for me, like, when guys come into the shop and they're like, what's new? I'm like, hey, do me a favor. Shut the fuck up. Let me have my show. Let me have this. Damn it. Dude, you're like a bowling ball with chia pet shit rubbed all over the top of it.
Brandon is never interrupting you, but
I'm just messing with you. You know I love you. You know I love
Where's Tom, by the way? You missed the best quotes ever.
you. Dude, come here. I'm going to bring this down. All right, so when you go into your cigar shop,
Real rep in.
No, don't feel it out.
I'm just saying, when you go into your cigar shop and you ask for what's new, you need to ask for what's good. Because sometimes your local area neighborhood tobacconist is going to show you something that when you hold it up to the light, it's just amber. And that amber right there means this cigar has been well taken care of. And that gas is built up and discolored this cigar to the point where it's absolutely magnificent.
That's a special one.
So what is your guilty pleasure cigar like? No one's around. That one?
Yeah. Not this one in the cello, obviously, because I don't have any.
Yeah.
But this is my Desert Island cigar. This is the cigar that that if I had that one choice, this
Yeah.
is the size that I would take with me.
No, that's very respectful.
Everything's perfect about it. The blend, the shape, the name, everything. There's a personal meaning to this cigar for me.
Now, Cazadores, is that even is that like Chupa, like a
No,
fictional character?
Cazador is a hunter's,
Okay.
but a Cazador would be a hunter. And the Cazadores size has been a size that's been around forever. But the name is called Havana Cazadores, which means Havana's hunter. And I had 2 dogs named Hunter and Havana when I made this cigar.
Now, were either of those the one that became K?
No, K Triple Deuce is a dog named Kona.
Right.
Yeah, that I don't know if you know a little bit about the 3 2s, but Kona died at 2:22 p.m. And 222 is actually an angel number, and it will show up whenever that angel is looking over you.
All right.
It's basically that angel's making sure everything's okay. I have this creepy thing where I wake up at 2:22 a.m. in the morning. I have a thing where I pick up my phone and it's 2:22 p.m.
All right.
I checked into a hotel in Hawaii when I was launching the K222, and I got upgraded, and they put me in suite 222. So just random creepy things happen with that number for me. It happens everywhere. I'll pick up my phone and I'll have 2 new comments and 22 likes on Instagram. Creepy shit. It happened today actually. So that number pops up everywhere for me. Here, Jeff, have your cigar back.
No, that's a gem, man. Thank you for bringing that out.
You was just complaining.
But
When am I gonna get that back?
I told you.
all the cigars have a personal meaning to me. And I had 4 dogs in my life, 4 Rottweilers, and they all have their own cigar. So
I had Rotties growing up, man.
They're
and
great
that's a
dogs.
Great dog.
Great dog.
Great dog. Average lifespan's what, 8 or 9 years? They're not a longevity dog.
yeah, Kona was a little over 8, but all the other ones were about 11, 12, and 13.
We had Sharpays. I had a Sharpay that would drink beer with me on the porch. and
Sharpays can be angry.
Yeah, this one wasn't. He was kicking.
I had a well, I didn't have a Sharpay, but family in Hawaii had a Sharpay that would bite the shit out of me every day.
I was a mailman for a while over in Louisville, Texas. And for me, the meanest dogs that I ever saw, they weren't pit bulls. It wasn't Rottweilers. It wasn't anything that you would think, like everyone wants to say that, pits or Rotts or...
Usually an Akita or a Sharpay.
And the meanest dogs I ever saw were Cocker Spaniels. 'Cause they
Oh,
were
yeah.
They were so dumb.
Crotch sniffers?
Oh my gosh. I go up to deliver this little Asian lady her medications, and it was hardcore medication, so she had to sign for it. So she opens up the door, and this Cocker Spaniel comes out like Jaws, just biting at me. I have my docs on. So I start kicking the dog in the face, and I'm thinking, she's going to get the hint and pull her dog back in. Well, after I just jammed this dog in the face like 8 or 9 times, I thought, in the post office, you have a deal where you're at fault for everything. The dog bit you, it's your fault. So I looked at her and I just screamed real quick. I go, "Ma'am, you control your dog or I'll have Postal Service cut off to your house." And I thought, I don't even have the power to do that. And then all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, geez, I better stop my dog from attacking this poor fat guy." That dog was messed up. Like one eye was like closed when I left.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Didn't like
It was cool for me. I was
Probably
like,
not good for video.
No. Well, I had the dogs.
Unless you're Jerry Springer, but I don't know if that's what you're going for.
Most of my life has been pretty
The
Jerry.
dog just wasn't winking at you, Bert?
It was by the time I left. So.
Actually, it's more like a white one-tail.
Hey Tom, it's Steve Wills goes slow
Is that what it is?
I was thinking about live with Dr. Phil.
Well, Pete, I'm sure this is all going downhill from here, but
I did not have sexual relations with that girl.
Keep saying that. Keep saying that. We'll show that video.
Thank you for coming on. Thanks
Thanks,
for
bro.
being our grand opening act. I mean, you're kind of your own opening act. You were Cinderella that I would say opened up for Stephen Piercy for Rat, because I was always a bigger Rat fan. But we'll say Rat opened up for Cinderella because you were Cinderella.
No, I was both,
Yeah.
but I lived a lot of Cinderella lives.
Cinderella story. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, man.
I'm Brandon Holsworth. This has been a special edition of Stickman. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Yeah.